I can still hear the buzz of my phone, low and insistent, slicing through the calm of my early morning. The steam from my coffee curled upward like a ghost as I stared at the screen, hesitating. It was a name I hadn't seen in years, my brother's. I set the mug down on the marble counter, the faint clink echoing in my otherwise quiet kitchen. Sunlight filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, spilling over the glass table where my laptop sat open, waiting for me to start the day's work. My silk blouse felt cool against my skin as I crossed my arms, bracing myself. For a second, I almost didn't open the message. Almost. Mom is sick. She's asking for you. Please come home. My jaw tightened. Home. As if that word still meant anything after what they did. After they left my 16-year-old daughter, Emily, stranded halfway across the world, in a country stamped with bold red warnings on every travel site, without a passport, without money, without me. I picked up the phone, staring at my reflection in the black screen. I looked every bit the woman I had fought to become, steady, successful, unshaken. But beneath the polished surface, my heart beat hard, the memory clawing its way back. If they wanted me to come back, they'd have to face the truth first. It happened 3 summers ago. Emily had just turned 16, and I thought sending her on that family trip would bring her closer to the people I'd been trying so hard to forgive. My parents insisted it would be good for her to connect with her roots. I remember standing in the airport, clutching her shoulders, kissing her forehead. She was nervous but smiling, her pink suitcase trailing behind her like a shadow. "Text me when you land," I told her. She nodded, slipping the silver bracelet I'd given her back onto her wrist, a tiny heart charm engraved with "You are never alone." For the first 2 days, her texts were full of pictures, street markets, strange foods, her cousins laughing. Then on the 3rd day, the calls stopped coming. When my phone finally rang, it was nearly midnight here. Her voice cracked through the static. "Mom, they left me." At first, I didn't understand. She was crying so hard I could barely make out the words. My chest tightened, and I gripped the phone so hard my nails dug into my palm. "They went to another city. They took my passport with them." "Mom, I can't leave the hotel." I remember standing in the middle of my kitchen, the world tilting. My hand shook so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. I called my parents, my siblings, no answer. Hours passed before my father finally picked up, his tone cold. "She's fine," he said flatly. "This will teach her to be more responsible. She was too attached to you anyway." I bit my tongue so hard it bled. She is 16. In a foreign country. Without identification. It's done. Stop overreacting. The line went dead. That night, something in me broke, and something else hardened. I stared at the bracelet Emily had left on the kitchen counter before her trip, turning it over and over in my hand. If my family wouldn't protect her, I would. By morning, I had a plan. The first step was getting Emily home. I maxed out 2 credit cards, buying last-minute flights, and wiring money through any service that would deliver it to her. The time difference was brutal. I stayed awake for 36 hours straight, calling embassy hotlines, begging for help, tracking down a replacement passport. Every time Emily's voice cracked over the phone, my resolve sharpened like glass. When I finally heard her footsteps rushing through the airport terminal back in the States, I dropped everything and ran. She threw her arms around me, sobbing into my neck, and I knew I could never let my family hold that kind of power over us again. But freedom came with a price. The money I'd borrowed left us barely scraping by. I sold my engagement ring, the last piece of my old life, and used the cash to take night classes in digital marketing. I worked as a receptionist during the day, my feet aching from standing too long, my nails always chipped from filing paperwork. It wasn't glamorous. Some nights I cried myself to sleep on the couch, too exhausted to climb the stairs. But I kept going. One professor noticed my dedication and pulled me aside after class. Her name was Diane, a sharp, seasoned woman who'd built her own agency from scratch. She saw something in me I didn't yet see in myself. "You've got grit," she told me, "and grit builds empires." She mentored me, helped me land my first freelance client. I remember the rush of getting that first $300 payment. It felt like the world had cracked open. Soon one client turned into three into 10. I started my own small agency, running campaigns from my kitchen table while Emily did homework beside me. Slowly, the balance shifted. The debt shrank. The apartment got a little nicer. One day, I signed the lease on a downtown office. Nothing fancy, but mine. And through it all, I kept it quiet. My social media was carefully curated, just enough to show we were okay, never enough to reveal just how far we'd come. It became my secret power, watching the same family who abandoned my daughter assume I was just getting by, all while I was building something they could never take from us. And I swore that if they ever came knocking, they'd meet a very different woman than the one they left behind. 2 days after my brother's message, I agreed to meet them. Not at their house, not on their terms. I told them to come to my office. The elevator ride felt strangely calm. My heels clicked against the polished floor, my reflection smooth and composed in the mirrored walls. Emily had grown into a poised young woman, now in her first year of college, and she insisted on being there too. "They need to see who we are now," she said, slipping the silver bracelet back onto her wrist before we left the apartment. When the elevator doors opened, I saw them waiting. My mother, pale but alert, my brother, my father. They looked out of place against the glass and steel backdrop of my agency's lobby. "Follow me," I said simply. I led them past the reception area, where my team worked quietly in sleek workstations. Past the wall, where framed campaign awards gleamed under soft lighting. Into my private office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, shelves lined with books and mementos from clients all over the world. Their eyes darted around, taking it all in. My father broke the silence first. This is yours." I nodded. Every inch of it. I didn't sit right away. I let them stand there, let the quiet stretch. Then I crossed behind my desk, sat in the leather chair that had once felt too big for me, and folded my hands. "You left my daughter," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "In a country where even the State Department warns people not to go. You took her passport. You told me to stop overreacting." My brother flinched. My mother stared at the floor. "I built all of this," I continued, gesturing around us, "because that night taught me we could rely on no one but ourselves. I built it while you pretended we were just barely surviving. I built it while you told people I was irresponsible, that I made bad choices." Emily stood beside me now, her chin high. "I slept on a hotel floor for 3 nights, she said quietly. "I begged strangers for food. I still dream about it sometimes." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know they—" "You knew," I interrupted gently but firmly. "You just didn't stop them." I let the words hang in the air, heavy and undeniable. For the first time in years, I saw my father look small. The man who had once dictated every decision in my life couldn't even meet my eyes. "This is who I am now," I said. "I am the founder and CEO of one of the fastest-growing boutique marketing agencies in the state. I am financially independent. Emily has a full scholarship to a top school. We are not your charity cases. We are not your burden. And we will never be powerless again." The room was silent except for the hum of the city outside. Finally, my brother cleared his throat. "Mom, she wants to see you. She wants to fix things." I leaned back, my voice calm but unyielding. "Then she'll have to hear what I need first." I stood up from my chair and walked to the window, letting the skyline fill the silence. The city stretched wide and gleaming beneath me, the life I'd built from ashes. When I turned back to face them, my voice was calm but unshakable. "If you want to be part of our lives again," I said, "there are conditions." My father's brows knit. "Conditions?" "Yes." I met his gaze without flinching. "First, you acknowledge what you did. You abandoned Emily. You left her vulnerable and terrified. Say it out loud. To her." His lips tightened, but he didn't argue. His voice was low, rough. "I left you there, Emily. I shouldn't have." Emily swallowed hard, gripping the bracelet on her wrist. "Thank you for saying that," she whispered. "Second," I continued, "no more control. You don't get to make decisions for us, comment on how I raise my daughter, or dictate what's acceptable. That ends here. My brother nodded slowly. Fair. Third, I said, my voice softening but staying firm. Therapy. All of you. You have patterns, cruelty disguised as tough love, that nearly broke us. If you want a future with us, you need to face them. My mother's tears spilled over. I'll go. I'll do it. My father hesitated, but one look at Emily, the quiet strength in her eyes, seemed to chip away at him. Fine, he said finally. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. And last, I said, respect our boundaries. There will be no unannounced visits, no guilt trips, no rewriting history. If you want a relationship, it will be on mutual respect, or not at all. They nodded slowly, subdued. For the first time, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not bitterness, but power. The little girl who had spent her life trying to please them was gone. The woman standing here was choosing her own terms. This isn't about revenge, I said finally. It's about making sure Emily never feels unsafe again. If you can do that, we can start fresh. If not, we walk away and we'll be okay. My words landed like a final gavel. There was no begging, no desperation. Just truth. Emily slipped her hand into mine, and I squeezed it. For the first time in years, I felt the weight lift. The weeks that followed felt different. Lighter somehow. True to their word, my parents started therapy. At first, it was awkward, stilted phone calls, long pauses, old wounds reopening, but slowly, something softened. My father apologized again, this time without being prompted. My mother began asking Emily questions about school, listening without interrupting. Emily started sleeping better. The nightmares that used to jolt her awake came less often. One evening, she came downstairs wearing that same silver bracelet and smiled. You know, she said, sitting next to me on the couch, I don't think about that hotel room as much anymore. I think about the day you came to get me. I brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. That's the day everything changed for us. And it had. Business was thriving, but more than that, our lives felt whole again. Not perfect, not simple, but ours. A month later, my parents visited our home for the first time in years. They didn't arrive with demands or advice, just a casserole dish and quiet humility. My father paused at the door, almost nervous. This place is beautiful, he said softly. Thank you, I replied, meaning more than just the house. As we sat down to dinner, I found myself glancing at the bracelet on Emily's wrist. That tiny charm, once a desperate promise, now felt like a badge of survival. I realized then that we hadn't just survived what happened. We had turned it into the foundation of a life we chose for ourselves. And as I looked at the faces around the table, changed, humbled, trying, I knew we were finally free. Because we were no longer the family who abandoned my daughter. We were the family who came back stronger.